welcome to my channel. This is a midweek whip and chat. Please grab your cuppas. I have my proprietary bucket of tea. Grab your work and, I don't know, get ready for some particularly random chat today. I don't really have a particular topic in mind. I haven't even picked a pen. I'm looking at my pens. Let's go with the skinny green one today. I don't know what I did, but I think I've gouged this somehow. Maybe with the blade. Don't know. Anyway, it should be fine. But we'll see how we go. This is my Mortimer Bay. This is my sunset view. This is a commissioned piece. Customs piece even, from stitchdiamond.com. It is 50 by 100, so this is also going into the Get Your Big On, which is hashtag GETBIGGON, Get Your Big On, that Melissa and Sherry are doing with the community for those who need some incentive to get their great big diamond paintings sorted out. So that's what I'm doing. I have actually got very little idea of the rules other than you can participate. If you watch the videos, you need to not just comment in the lives, but you need to put a comment at the end of the video as to whatever they direct you to hashtag or quote. Yeah, you might win some prizes, which is all kinds of cool if you like winning prizes. Trying to figure out where I'm up to. I pulled out all of my drills. I've put them off just to the side here to figure out what I've got, because you may have seen before I've got the big storage bag of 60, and I don't like having to then fossock through the 60 to find which I'm looking for. So usually I will kind of pre-dispense if I can. I'm going to put that down there. And this is not a poured glue, this is a adhesive, so things are a little bit more stubborn on this canvas to move. So yeah, I take these ones out of the case of, there's 44 colours in this. Yep, 44 colours. I've got the inventory just down the side here to help me find the figures. I leave the containers half out here. I will show you. So, oops, knocking everything flying. So these are my containers. This is the container I've just put in. I don't put it in fully until Sophie comes along and pushes it all the way down, because if I ever need to go back and find it, I just look for the ones that are sticking up. So that's my little trick for my slightly wacky brain. Now, I haven't been catching up much this week on whip and chats. Either that or I haven't seen whip and chats. So, well, welcome if you are desperately in need of a bit of a session to do some work on. There's almost a straight run here. I could do a run. Alright, let's try and catch you up with a bit of life. I had a reasonably okay week at work. I was very sore on one of the days, but I had physio one afternoon, and the physio decided to try dry needling on me, which is kind of similar to acupuncture, but you're not using the meridians, you're using, I don't know, muscly bits. I'm gonna need more of them. And she was really thrilled with the response that my skin was giving. Apparently that's a good thing. And she said, look, we'll see how you go and come back next week, and you know, we'll go from there. Well, she's done the needling. My left arm has now been a weird kind of side issue. But she did the needling, and I had what seemed to be almost a pain-free day. Woke up and I wasn't so tight in the shoulders, and it was like, oh my god, this is what it's like to kind of feel normal. My left arm is still feeling like somebody's giving me a dead arm. You know, that really heavy, weighty feeling. So I'm waiting for that to go. So I've made another appointment with her. I've got an appointment on Monday morning to see her. And we'll see where we go, because if the needling works, then awesome. I might have a solution. And my mechanical keyboard has been mailed, which is good, because it means that that could also stop that left arm action from kind of overextending to my skinny keyboard. I don't know, that's what I'm thinking. It might not be that at all, but I'm just thinking if it's a bigger keyboard, then maybe I won't have that pull to the left, because it's not a mouse hand or anything else. The doctor did investigate, and he said, yeah, it's definitely not tennis elbow. I kind of knew it was the wrong kind of pain, because I'd had tennis elbow starting in my right arm, which started all of this off in the first place, and it was completely different location and everything else. So I wasn't convinced that it was, but he said he would check it out just in case. He has offered to do an ultrasound on my shoulder if it keeps going. I'll wait and see if I need to do that. I think that's a 13. And I realised I missed a symbol. So there's hourglass and teardrop. Hourglass and teardrop. Right. There seems to be so many new channels these days. It's kind of hard to keep up, to be honest. I did catch up with a new one. The principal. No, I'm gonna have her name wrong. Cara, the principal. She was a new video that I watched during the week and really enjoyed seeing where Cara is going to go. So that's kind of cool. So please check out other diamond painters if you have got some time on your hands. Some of the videos for newbies are going to be reasonably short, but it gives you a taster as to whether or not you kind of like their flavour. It's a bit like how I described picking a novel in one of my WiPnChats long time ago, and that was that I open the book, read the first paragraph, and if the first paragraph catches me, I'm sold. So that's my general kind of thing. If I kind of like, I don't know, the attitude or whatever it is, the spirit of the person who's doing the video, I'll kind of hang around a bit and see what else is going on. But oh goodness, I've lost the tree. There's the tree. Right. There's usually one or two of these that I miss when I'm doing my grabbing, but let's see how we go. Now, this is a stitched diamond. I know Patriotic Beauty had one from them. The colouring that she does is really, really good, but the drills are not so crash hot. I'm picking this up from the tube, and there's a few drills that are popping up. I think I will have to seal it to make sure that they behave and they stay down in place when I'm done. But they're not... they're okay. They're okay. Like, there's the odd one that kind of comes up there like that. They kind of go down. There's a little bit of gapping that I'm seeing, so the gapping is good. You need the gapping to give the bit of space. Now, I know I took this triangle out for a reason. Oh yeah, it's I'm looking for a white triangle. That's what was throwing me. The colours on the canvas don't necessarily fully match the drills, which is fine because it's square and I don't need to see behind them, but it means that I'm looking at the wrong colour. It's like, oh, it's throwing me. Alright. What else is happening? I made scones this morning for the first time in ages. I have recipes from my home economics books in high school, which are 30 plus years old. And I could have chosen one of those and decided not to. I instead went to what I'm finding is a really reliable website for recipes, which is called Taste, I think it's .com.au. And I got the recipe, I think, of that one. And didn't have buttermilk, but I haven't had buttermilk before, and I know that you throw in some vinegar or some lemon juice. Vinegar I always have. Throw in some vinegar, you get buttermilk, and I didn't have self-raising flour. You add baking powder to that and you get self-raising flour. And had scones and jam and cream. In Australia they call them scones. I don't know where the scones came from. Yeah. Different pronunciation. Always. What? What did you say? Don't diss the Aussies. Right, yeah, the Aussies in the room. Oh. Oops. I think there's a bit of static in these. Funny, sticking onto the lid. I'm sure it's the spade. Oh my god, brain. This is the problem with putting into the lid. I put it into the lid and then I forget what I'm doing. But it's handy if it's just a couple that need to come out. Usually. What have I been doing? Most evenings I have been coming home and I have been trying to catch up with my cross stitch. I'm doing the peppermint purple stitch along, which is a block a week, and this week I was working on the border and I have finished it. It's out of my reach. So it's a big rectangle. Let me show you, for instance. I think I've got all of the spades for now. Yeah. Alright, so if this is the rectangle here, I had done the border this bit and this bit and this bit, right? Now, then I did here and I went up to about here. When I got to here, I realized that I wasn't symmetrical on this side to this side, and I thought, oh crap, what am I going to do? So I ended up working out how it was off and went, and I had to frog it from there to then miss a stitch down here, and then it's symmetrical up the sides, and then I finished off the top. So I got that border finished yesterday, caught up with this week. Now I see the spades. Caught up with this week and I'm all up to date, and now I have to wait until Wednesday to get any further, and it's like, oh, okay, now I need to start something else. So I have a few projects in my kit bags. I have the I think I've got the bees. I've got this one, the worker bees, which is a hexagonal thing, and oh, that might be the only working kit that I've got in a bag, but I do have the cunning cross stitch, which is the Harry Potter one, which is huge, and I really need to get going on that. The worker bees is a really small project, and I might do the worker bees kind of in between doing the peppermint purple one and in between doing the Harry Potter one, when it's, you know, Harry Potter is a bit intense, or I just don't want to have yards of Ada in my lap or anything like that. So, and again, I've gone and forgotten what the heck I've just picked. Small t. Oh dear. I'm beginning to wonder if, now shush, he's listening, if my husband might have been right about the coffee. Now that I'm now that I'm no longer immune to coffee, I'm wondering if it is actually keeping me awake or giving me slightly less good sleep. But this is because I haven't had coffee in so long, and he's thrilled that even one coffee is now affecting me. We'll see how we go. But it isn't affecting Sophie that we know of. And that's why I stopped. So, he says I'm in denial. No, but the reason why I had to stop drinking the coffee, I think, was because of her. She was, I don't know, she was not sleeping. There was something weird going on, and yeah, so I stopped drinking the coffee. But I've had coffees again on the weekends, and a few coffees during the week at lunchtime, and I'm wondering then if that's a result of me being extra tired and not sleeping at night properly. So yeah, just some observations. I used to be able to drink like 6 cups of coffee, conk out it, you know, when I'm getting in from work, on shift work at, you know, 3 a.m. in the morning, sit down on the couch, have a coffee, just wind down on the couch, head to bed, and, you know, was oblivious to any issues.
One of the indicators of addiction is tolerance.
Yes, my husband says an indication of addiction is tolerance. I definitely had a tolerance to it, and now I don't seem to have any tolerance at all. So it means I need to drink more coffee, doesn't it?
No.
No, he's saying no. He's so mean.
One a day is
Yeah, he's saying 1 a day is okay. So yeah, I try and enjoy my coffee, which is why I want to have it on the weekends rather than, you know, rushing it during the week or anything. Some of it comes down to just being prepared. It's having the milk in the fridge at work, or, you know, because I'm not going to go out and buy a tea. I don't get I really don't get the fact that to make a tea, which is mostly boiled water, a dribble of milk, a tea bag that is, I don't know, I buy tea on special, so it's 100 bags for $5. So it's 5 cents a tea bag. It's, you know, it's going to cost less than 50 cents to make a cup of tea, and they're going to charge me something like $4 or $5 for this, you know, mangy tea that hasn't necessarily had a 3-minute timer or anything else. And I found another spade. You know, it's just like, yeah, I'm so not into that. Whereas at least with coffee, you feel like you're paying the money for it because you're getting, you know, effectively a cup of milk. You're not really, but you can, you know, you can imagine coffee costs more than tea, but yeah, it's a bit sad really when you work out the costs. But coffee, oh God, there's another spade. My problem is that I've got this, it's what I call the float. You know the balls that they put on the electric wires, at least they do in Australia and they do in England. They put balls on the wires so that the swans don't fly into the electric wires. Yeah, so they've got the float, they've got the spade, and they've got whatever this symbol is that I'm doing, the diamond. They're all the same kind of shade grey, so I keep on missing one of them. So it's a little bit of a nuisance. As I'm scanning and scanning, and then you're thinking I'm all done, and then there's another one there. So far out. Yeah, it's just a little bit rude. I brought Trixie around to my daughter. She messaged me almost immediately saying I can't get the drills to stay in the pen. I laughed at her and went, you know, you need to put wax in the pen. I haven't been able to speak to her since. She hasn't answered her phone to be able to find out how she's going with it. I felt a bit bad actually about laughing at her because she's never actually done diamond painting and probably doesn't watch my videos yet, if at all. So yeah. What, when I dropped off the painting? The big one? No. Oh, right, yeah. Not really. So yeah, I hope she's kind of enjoying it. She's bored, so yeah. With somebody with pretty much nothing to do, she doesn't answer her phone very often. To me. Yeah, and then she'll hang up on me saying, oh, I've got to go, so-and-so's on the phone. Or so-and-so's ringing me, and it's like, oh, okay, thanks, right, bye. Yeah, feeling the love. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so, been catching up. Hubby is designing me a light so that I can use a light on the couch for my cross stitch, so I'm not going to feel like a bat. Squinting at the stitching. I stitch in hand. I'm finding that okay with this size piece. It's A4 page size. So there's only a little bit more extra fabric from the A4. I did try it initially in a Q-snap. No, I tried the cunning cross stitch, I think, in the Q-snap. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. I was getting arm strain from holding it, and it was just, I needed to put it into a frame, I think. That was my big issue with the Q-snap, and I would love to get the Elan frame, but I haven't seen an Australian supplier for it. I could get hubby to make it for me, because it seems reasonably simple. But I need to get some measurements and fittings and things like that. But actually he could probably do me something even better than that, because they call it an Elan lap stand, but it's got little feet that lift it up higher than the lap. So I don't know if it goes under your legs, but if it goes under your legs, it's got these little feet that lift it higher. So it's not like it sits flush on the cushion or anything like that. It's a little bit odd. It would fit really well on a table, for instance, but I don't stitch at a table. So anyway, Artisan Design, I think, have, well, I don't know if it's a patent or they use the design and they make them now. It's kind of handmade. I think Rachel just did a video unboxing it, and they say it's handmade by them, and it's a little bit rough and, well, not rough and ready, but it's pretty basic. It really is pretty basic. As a stand goes, you want something that will flip your work. You want something that will hold it firmly. I do have a long stitch that's actually still on its frame. It's been on its frame since, geez, probably been on the frame for 15 years. It's, I think it's Sydney scene. I think I got it from the Fox collection, who are not a cheap setup, but I didn't know any better and didn't really have internet or buying savvy or anything else back when I was buying it. So I have this Sydney thing that I haven't finished, and I should probably get on with it, because in reality it probably wouldn't take too long to do it. But yeah, that's this is the asterisk, and I have one more. Where did you go? So yeah, I do have a wooden frame, but I was working with the Q-snap that I had bought many years ago as well. But yeah, actually gave the stitching in hand a go and quite like it. I know Rachel said that she wasn't a fan of the stitching in hand, and I think if you have too much material, I probably wouldn't be a fan either. So we'll see how we go for the interim period. It may be too much with the cunning cross stitch because it's a much bigger piece. That's more like not a fat quarter, it's more like a full yard, both directions kind of thing. I think this triangle thing. Again, you're seeing the brain really not working this morning. So that's the working plan when it comes to, I suppose, non-diamond painting projects, is to get the cunning cross stitch off the ground. I'm kind of reluctant to grid. I'll see what I'll do. I've got the sulky, whatever it is, sulky silk. Somebody recommended to me from the Stitch Along when I was, you know, trying to get back into cross stitch as a complete rookie, forgetting everything that I had ever done. I'd never gridded before, which was probably to my detriment. I've actually got a kit that's a wolf and it's on black Ada, and it's a complete nightmare. And I probably would have benefited knowing back then to grid, but again, no internet and limited resources and no teacher. I was pretty much teaching myself back in the 90s when my kids were little. So yeah, it didn't get very far with that, but it's still in the kit. I don't think they're DMC'd. I think they're just kits like pre-measured and all of that kind of jazz. So I may show them in a floss stitch at some point, my stash, like my actual stash. I did used to get the cross stitch, was this cross stitch magazines? Maybe it was just craft magazines. I used to subscribe to lots and try and get ideas for the things that I couldn't spend money on. But I wanted, I don't know, I just wanted to feed my creative kind of mum stuck at home kind of mode. I am looking for the 2 dots. No. Have I already got them out? 2 dots. There they are. 12. That's why it's handy having my inventory next to me, because if I can't find it looking in the bag, I can at least find it up and down a straight line. Now, one thing I have been doing, I don't know if any of you follow Ken's Creations. I don't know how I got onto finding Ken's Creations. I think he got diamond dots, and he got the koi, that huge partial. And I don't know, there was just something about him and Sean and the attitude and everything else that I kind of liked. He was, you know, so sometimes I'll watch him and sometimes I won't, but this last 2 months he has had, or they have had, a litter of puppies, of golden retriever puppies. Now, you guys in the States have very dark golden retrievers. We have quite light golden retrievers here in Australia because most of them are English stock. Your American ones are quite rusty reds and dark oranges. So it's been really interesting watching this litter, and they actually like the darker litter as well. So they had all these names that were, the puppies were all named after Chalk Couture colours. That's pretty much what Ken does. He is an ambassador or whatever for Chalk Couture, or was, and then they pulled the plug on that or something. Anyway, he still does crafty stuff. I think I was also watching when they hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and they got their plaque. So that was all kinds of exciting, seeing them, you know, what you get actually at certain numbers by YouTube. Because I didn't know that you got, you know, awards from YouTube and things like that. Still being a newbie way back when I started watching him. So yeah, watching these puppies getting fat and running around, and they're like, well, he calls them nuggets amongst other things, but yeah, they are just these little fur balls. Well, they all went to their home this week, or all to their homes. They'd given them to family and friends, or given or sold. I'm not actually sure what the transaction details were, but family and friends were getting this litter, and he's expecting to see them again, but they slowly left during the week, and then they were down to their little one, who he says is sassy as all hell. So they're going to have a lot of fun with them. They've got some gorgeous photos though of the pups, and they have a beautiful family portrait of the two of them with the pup, and I asked if they were going to have a portrait with the mum as well, because Riley's not in it, and that would be all kinds of cool for them. Now, I've got some X's. So that's kind of where I've been catching up with. What else have I been doing? Working pretty much. More than anything. I have my workers' comp tribunal thingy happening this week from my back. They're trying to say it's not work related, and I'm going to be saying, well, I think it is, but either way, I would like more time. And I'll see how I go with that. Ooh, that was a J, and I don't have enough of these. 3823, have I got more? No, not yet. Okay. Let's get these down the bottom, out of the way though. No idea what happens at one of these things. Completely out of my depth, but we'll see how we go. All I can do is ask. That's my policy. I had somebody say to me during the weekend about the DAC wish list. I said, well, all you can do is ask. You know, have you seen the new DAC website? They have upgraded their website. Now, unfortunately, the wish list hasn't carried over, so you either have to go and browse everything. I know, it's such a trial. You have to go browse everything and add it to your new wish list. It was one of those glitches that didn't copy through, unfortunately. But happy shopping, and you can pre-order on some of them as well. So yes, if you want to be tempted, go check out Diamond Art Club and their new site. It's kind of pretty, and you can sort it for round and square. So if you hate square or you hate rounds, you can actually eliminate those in your filters, which you may or may not. Look, I would certainly suggest that you be challenged at least once in drills that you're not used to, and it may convert you by the end of the painting. But yeah, don't go for shitty squares. Don't go for a Huacan kit squares expecting to love them, because I think that's just stupidity. Go with a company that has recommended squares. That would be Evermoment, that would be Diamond Art Club, Treasure Studios I think would be up there as well. Do not think that you can go to a cheap alley store and you're going to fall in love with square drills there. In fact, they will probably be an exercise in frustration for you. So, I would recommend everybody gives squares a go at least once. And if you don't like it after that, after using good squares, then fair enough, don't use them again. But you've tried with good squares, that's my point. You haven't just gone off willy-nilly. I'm going to put these back in because there's a whole load of J's up in this section here, and I'm going to get quite lost. So, put those away, and we'll do a couple of these T's are down here, but there are, oh, I thought there were more, yeah, there's more T's up here. Oh, not so many. Oh. The T's and the J's are quite similar. Yeah, there's quite a few up there. I'm not going to do them all yet. I'm going to just do this bit, which I think is the reflection in the water. Oh, Lordy. I'm reading a book on my Kindle that I'm really enjoying. I can't remember the name of it though. It's something to do with four brothers who have been told that they need to get married, and one of them has to have a baby within a year, or otherwise they will lose the property that they're trying to get back into their family line. It's a kind of family generational inheritance, and the uncle has kicked the father out of the ranch, and then he has absolutely flogged it to death, left it with a whole heap of debts. They're only discovering this now, so this guy has met his prospective partner by doing a wanted ad. She's responded, and these two have connected. And the three brothers have been told they also need to try online wives, and you don't hear much about the three brothers, so I'm not sure if it's a series. I seem to have got a fair way through the book, so I think it might be a series, but it would be one of those series books that I would probably buy if it's not too expensive. But I got this free from BookBub. I've mentioned BookBub before, and it's a really cool way of getting free books that just, I don't know, wet your whistle in certain authors that you might not ordinarily come across, and I think that's kind of cool. You can also go onto Amazon and go into the Kindle selection and just type in free, and you will get a bazillion options coming up. Why am I doing that in the lid? I really don't need to. There's enough. And this is where the beauty of having the lid, because you can pop the lid down and now I know what I'm looking for. So yeah, you can put in free into Amazon and you can get all the free options coming up there. And you will be going for days if you try and go through them all. BookBub sends, I don't know, maybe 10 options a day, give or take. And out of the 10 options that it sends, there might be 2 or 3 free, and the rest would be 99 cents, $2.99, and these are Aussie prices, so you know they're still pretty cheap. So I think it's a pretty nifty way to get books. Sometimes I've paid, and sometimes I have just ignored completely, not even read the blurbs on the paid books, so that I don't get tempted. So I just look at the free ones, scan down, find the free ones, click them and throw them into my library, and then go through it at a later date to actually read them. So there's a teaser paragraph, I think, for each of the books. If you're interested, go check it out. I have found many interesting books through there, and there's all kinds of genres, as I've said before. Now, here's a question for you. What's the biggest diamond painting you've done, and what has either put you off doing a large diamond painting or attracted you to a large diamond painting? For me, this would be up there. I've got Sneaky Cat. Sneaky Cat is huge, by Diamond Art Club. I think it's 110, probably on par with this size, and I can't recall if it's round or not. I guess I could go check it out. But this one's pretty big. I had the photo. It was a high-res photo, and I went to Alan at Stitch Diamond, who also has the Facebook group, Diamond Painting Cross Stitch something or other on Facebook. If I remember, I will put the link in the description. I know I've linked her before, particularly with the unboxing for this. I'm sure I've done the unboxing on the video. So I sent her the picture and she's going, yeah, you want this size. And to be honest, she doesn't do small canvases. She kind of has a philosophy, I guess, that if you want to have it done, you do it right and you go big or you go home. So most of the work that she does is large paintings, and it's not a ridiculous price for the size of it. I think you're talking 60, 70, and that's kind of on par for a big kit. And for the detail that you get the mock-up sent to you. If there's any tweaking that you need to do, you can do that, and she's just brilliant to work with. Sorry, I'm going to have some tea before it goes too cold. So she has been really good. The only letdown is not the best drills. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I don't think she does round. Oh, no, she must do round. I think she's asked. No, it was Gemma that asked. I don't think she does round. I think she only does it in square. And again, because of the square, you get more drills per inch, which means you get more details per inch. And it's what you want in any painting. So you can see here, okay, look, it's not zoomed in or anything, but you can see here how there's confetti through this block, right? You can see the white spots, basically. Okay? That's the detail of gradient that you need without going overboard. So the shading is really subtle because these colors between the two are quite similar. And when you have too drastic a shade difference because you don't have enough of a color range, and this was part of my beef and part of my reluctance maybe to get excited in a way with my Treasure Studios art picture. Like Rachel's attitude was, just because you want more colors doesn't mean you're going to get a better result, and that may be fair enough, and I will hold off judgment on that advice until I've actually finished a Treasure Studios art. I haven't got around to doing it because I've actually got 3 pieces that are huge open, so I just haven't got the time to be able to dedicate to doing one of Rachel's as well. I also don't have the bags, but one of the bags will free up when I get my Who You Say I Am finished. I'm just counting drills. So yeah, for bigger kits I like having the storage bags in operation. For smaller kits I'm kind of happy with having the pillboxes. That's kind of where I'm at with that. Alright, now I'm going to get to oh, I was going to say checkerboarding, but the pickup I just had was too long. I just need 5 in there. Oh, lordy. This is, it looks like a 7. I'll just check the side in a second. The beauty of these multi-placers is they have a little number on one side, and it is a 7. It's not a scratch. So it's a 7 placer. It's not bad. I'm getting used to the bigger multi-placers. You've got to have everything lined up so well, and if you're going to be doing all of this kind of shoving for every single one, it's almost easier to just put down less and do it more often, knowing that they're going to go down sweetly like that kind of thing. The first placement I think is always the issue. After you get the first line down, the next line just kind of locks in, and it just might need a press with the roller just to get things home. Yeah. Here's another question for you. Do you use multi-placers? I tried it initially. I didn't have good drills, and it was a nightmare. I was doing it with, you can't really see it, just here, no, here, that black line just there, yeah, that's my black cat. That was from Amazon, and the popping drills was insane. I tried using the multi-placer, and because they were all over the place size wise, it was just a disaster, an absolute disaster. Alright, now I need a few of these slightly shorter lines. There we go. 6. The beauty of using the multiplacers are. You don't have to load the multiplacer to the maximum. You can put on 5. You don't have to take the full 7. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if you can see there. I've got 2, 2 and 2, and I've got a gap in between them all, and that's going to go into that line. Hopefully, give or take a smush. There you go. You can leave your gaps in the multiplaces. I have tried to capture that kind of placement before and show how it's done. Sometimes cameras play and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they're out of focus, so it hasn't necessarily done the right thing. And you know what? I've been trying to use my Ziploc bag technique, and whatever happens, the bloody video does not record properly, and every time it's like, oh my god, it hasn't done it again. I think I ended up with stop starts the last time. Again, my poor little computer brain was too busy and I was getting frame rate stuttering or something. It was driving me nuts. And I did a Lillian Fox unboxing. Now if you're familiar with nail wraps, I'm gonna move them. Colour Street nails, Lillian Fox is kind of similar. They're not nail varnish. I don't know if they purport to be nail varnish, but they feel like vinyl. They could be nail varnish, I suppose, if it's quite thick, but they feel like vinyl when you put them down. And I did an enveloping for that. I went to do an edit of my video and it's just so stuttery on the visual. It was just like, oh, it's just not happening. And that was because I was probably uploading or exporting or something in the background at the same time as uploading to YouTube, and my computer brain was just having a meltdown because it was just going, I can't do this. So I have to go a bit slower, which means that all I can do is really record at once, and then when I finish recording I can edit, and when I'm exporting, don't do anything. Yeah, joys. Now, what am I going to do? I need a 4. 4 was 25. Where did you come from? That's rude. At work today, not today, sorry, I wasn't working today. At work on Friday, we had been having a quiz that the boss had been doing at lunchtime, and it was just a fun quiz. There were, you know, some stupid questions in there, and then there was some serious questions in there. But anyway, we couldn't do it because of the whole social distancing and all that kind of carry on, or at least we weren't meant to be. So we stopped, and one of the guys, the quote that was put on the board for the running total said, I was robbed. So he sent out an email during the week, excuse me. He sent out an email during the week saying, because he was robbed, he was going to do his own quiz. Now I'm going to do a couple of these, but not many. Oh, this is a dryer sheet in there. They must have been really bad staticky. So he said that he would set up the WebEx team and we would all jump into this at lunchtime and do the quiz. Okay, so some of the girls apparently went to the lunchroom and they were all on the computers in the WebEx team. There was the ability on this quiz to be able to Google, although if you Googled, you were obviously going to be slower. So Google only really worked if you really didn't know the answer and nobody else knew the answer. Because you've got 15 odd people throwing in answers. Now, he would only accept the first answer that you gave. So if I answered dog and then answered cat, he would take dog as the only answer. So, wouldn't matter if I'd got it right second time round. It was first answer only, so if you're going to get it wrong, then you're out, kind of thing. So, he ran this, and he grabbed the questions with a snipping tool off a document that he had, and he put it into the chat, and some of these were really, really tiny font, and people were giving out to him saying that he needed to have bigger font and all of that kind of jazz. They were getting quite irate, and they were yelling in their, you know, capitals. I was like, far out. Anyway, yeah, it was a little bit of fun though. The boss, I think, won this time, whereas the boss had normally been asking the questions. He seemed to think that James Brown was really the king of rock and roll or something, or the king of rock. And the question had been, who was the prince of rock? So, you know, there's a distinctive difference. So yeah, there was a little bit of jibbing and all that kind of thing. Yeah, it was a bit of fun. But the only problem was that we couldn't hear people answering the questions, you know, and have that physical kind of banter happening. So I don't know, but it was good fun, and it's going to happen again next week. But we've ironed out some of the issues, and the quizmaster is going to try and work out how to answer the questions with a picture image, so that you can't grab the picture image and copy and paste it into Google to give you an advantage. I thought that was a genius idea in the first place. And yeah, we'll just try and get it so that it's bigger. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's just a bit of light-hearted Friday fun. At the end of the week, we have what we call Fast Food Fridays, where most people go and get a burger from the local fish and chip kind of place, or burger joint, or whatever you want to call it. Greasy Spoon Cafe. So yeah, there's that temptation too, if you are so inclined. Problem is for me that Fast Food Friday happens on a Fast Food Friday at home, so we have homemade burgers that night, so I don't want to have a double up of burgers. So that generally kind of puts me off joining in on the fast food bit. And our burgers are pretty good. I do a pretty mean burger. It's usually a burger with the lot. And this week, because my husband is just a gun, he made the rolls. He's been making bread for our soup, and he made the rolls for the bun, for the burgers too. And it was rich as all hell. And Sophie stole my cheese. I'm devastated. But it was really, really good. But yeah, so heavy by comparison. It was like, oh man, you knew you'd been fed. But it was burger, and then the sauteed mushrooms and onions, and then I kind of stick the onions and mushrooms together by frying the egg on top of them in a heart-shaped kind of silicone mold. I need one more. And then it kind of sets it in place so I can put this shape onto the burger. And the egg is often quite runny, so there's timers going and all that kind of thing to make sure that the egg is still soft. And, you know, I throw in, what do I do? Maybe I should record this sometime. It's a bit of a tough setup though. I saute the onions and mushrooms while the bacon is grilling. They get soft and cooked, and then when they're pretty much done, I start the burgers, and the burgers get put into the fry pan with, I don't know, a quarter to a half a cup of red wine. The lid goes on, and a bit of barbecue whiskey seasoning. Goes on top of the burgers. The lid's on, so they're kind of steaming a little bit, you know, getting a bit juicy on the bottom. And that's the first side of the burger, so 4 minutes, and then they get turned. The second side go in for a minute with some water, and after a minute I usually put the eggs in. Again, it's 4 minutes on the sides. The eggs go on top of the mushroom mix, which is in a silicone mold just to hold it together, and then the cheese goes on in the last minute on top of the burgers. So everything is kind of stuck together, and then I serve it up by putting the fish slice under the onions, mushrooms and egg mix, put that on top of the burger, lift that and put it onto the burger bun, which has the sauce, lettuce, maybe tomato, maybe gherkin, that kind of thing. And that's how I serve it, and then I put a skewer through it all to stop it falling off, because they can be quite slippy. Didn't need to do that with these burgers because these burgers were huge. They were bigger than the patty. The meat patty. Yeah, by design he made them bigger. So they're pretty good. So that's what we get up to on a Friday night, and then Saturday night is our pizza night, and yeah, started to give him some sweet chili sauce on his pizza. He's not a big chili fan anymore. So what? Yeah, he was complaining last week because I put too much on. Okay, I'm gonna get the ticks done. This will be interesting because they're over the far side. I can feel a drill lifting. There we go. Alright, let's see how we go. I am really looking forward to being able to show you the light that he's doing for me for my cross stitch. It's a scissors mechanism arm, and it can, you know, concertina it in and out on the wall. Not that it's probably going to, but what it will do is I'll be able to fold it back against the wall so it's kind of flat and Sophie doesn't swing off it, hopefully. But the end of the light is a pink bell shape, and he's put no skin on the outer layer, so you can see what's called a gyroid pattern on the inside, and the light's going to shine through that, and also the main light's going to shine down, but we've got more lights inside that we're going to shine through the gyroid pattern to give, you know, a pretty effect. But the scissors thing is green, and the bell flower is fuchsia, and it's going to have a green, I think sepal, the back of the flower, like this bit here that goes around the kind of edge of the flower, the bits that protect the petals in the beginning. That's going to have a green collar, and then there's going to be a separate arm for a little camera, and I can do some recordings in lap. So looking forward to having the floodlight to be able to work with, because yeah, there's never enough light when you do cross stitching. Anyone who has really got into cross stitching, they either stitch during the day or they have to buy the daylight lamps. What do they call them? Is an ollie lamp where you've got the magnifying glass and the light attached. I used to have one and then it died. Couldn't get it to work. I paid a lot of money for this standing lamp as well, but where the couches are in this house, you can't really fit a standing lamp in there. So yeah, hubby is creating this, and he will wire it up when it's all pieced together. And I managed to get the laptop. I think I need more. Don't have any on that. Managed to get my laptop working again. I had to get it to the boot menu to get Debian working, because the battery had died and Debian stopped being my operating system of choice. Windows was trying to override it, which has never been used on this laptop because, again, hubby is a genius. So got that up and running, which means that I can have the laptop connected to the camera, which means I can do some recording or even hit a remote control on my phone to get it to record, so I can record from the couch while I'm doing some stitching, so you might get some stitching whip-alongs. That's kind of the plan, and it's going to be lit so you can see what I'm doing, and that's the main thing, because we need lighting. I jumped into, I think Rebecca was live this morning, and you could see most people had good lighting and the camera was picking up good lighting and that, and I know Brian's not diamond painting in the dark, but whatever way his camera was picking up the light, it was quite dark on camera for him. So from that point of view, that's what I'm kind of after. I'm not after the dark image. There's a few people who have had dark kind of setups, and it just throws me off from a viewer. It's probably all well and good if it's a WiPnChat, because you don't have to actually see anything, but if you're actually wanting to see something and you're looking at a video and it's got poor lighting because people aren't taking care with positioning or daylight or, you know, things like that, it can be a little bit off-putting for me. You know, other people may or may not have a problem. I tend to, and if I have a problem, then I am probably more reluctant to come back, because it's just going to bug me, and there's no point in me getting frustrated at somebody's lack of lighting or know-how or anything else. And that's not to put them down, it's just because they haven't got it available, or they just don't know. And sometimes they just don't know. And I got people pointing things out to me when I started out, but yeah, I actually had somebody point out to me when I was doing a pen opening how I included other pen companies, and it was like, I paid for these and I'm showing what else I have, so I'm showing that I'm not just a rookie purchaser. And yeah, it was a really weird kind of comment. I don't know if they unsubscribed as a result because of my response, but it was like, yeah, I'll do my videos how I kind of see fit, and I love all my pens. I don't think I've had a resin pen I hated. I've had resin pens that probably aren't my favourites, and that would be down to the thickness, which again you have to suck and see, because I wouldn't have known if I didn't know that they came in different sizes. And like RachelRaeCraft, I bought a RachelRaeCraft. I probably haven't used this much because it's so thick. I've got ones from Diamond Penz, and one of them was really thick and the other one was quite thin, like these two. That's quite thick and that's quite thin, and it's like, oh man, I really like the thinner. Now Diamond Penz come in 10 different shapes. I've watched Daniel on Lays and Latherworks. I've watched him doing pens, and he kind of does it by feel. So you're not gonna, he says some people use calipers, he doesn't use calipers, he just goes by feel. So you're not always going to get the exact same, depending on the blank and all of that kind of thing. So, you know, it's a little bit hit and miss, and because I am as tactile as I am, there are some things that I just would prefer to either handle or know that it's going to be right. So I can now go back to Diamond Penz and say to Jen, hey, this is the pen that I love. You've given me this pen, give me more in that kind of size, even if it's a different shape. So having that know-how and then having the rapport with the people. The only thing I haven't been able to get so far is a BFF pen. What you've got to do with the BFF is say, I think it's either me please or my BFF, and you're into the random draw, and then if your name is picked, you get to purchase that pen. They're not free. You just get to purchase that pen. So it's a random purchase. It's how the diamond pens work as well. Sorry, sticky drills. And I kind of like that. I've won a couple on diamond pens, and then I've ordered customs as well. From Australia, it's not worth buying individually. You're better off buying in 2s, 3s, 4s. 3s, 4s probably better, but it is expensive doing it that way. Like you're talking 100 plus for 3 or 4 pens. And then the exchange rate has just gone really stupid at the moment. And then shipping is just seemingly not happening. Or it's going really, really slow. So you guys over in the States, you're really spoilt. No, 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 please don't push them down. No. No.
No. No. No.
Go on, no, go and put it on in Carmen's room.
No. No.
So who wants the TV? It's getting close to dinner and bedtime, I think, for her, or lunch and bedtime. Yeah, so pens, yeah, I have to order in bulk, and yes, exchange rate, yeah. I did see Distracted by Diamonds. Robin has launched her diamond painting kits. So jealous of you guys, really, really am. I would love to see what she's got. Amy from Crystal Canvas Creations, might be if that's the right one. Amy has stock coming in huge quantity. She's got 4,000 coming in. She's expecting it by May. And Amy Fizia, who is, she's got an Etsy store. Mrs. Coffee, I think, just got an order from her. And she has got all her stock ready, and she's probably going to have sold out by now. It's getting quick. She's doing weird and wonderful things because she's an admin in one of the groups that I do, so she's been showing us kind of sneak peeks, and she's doing things like bags and boxes and all kinds of pretty accessory kind of things. She's got key rings, she's got all sorts of little fun stuff to do. So yeah, it's all kinds of cool seeing new people coming through. So yeah, enjoy the new businesses while you can, and while you're home to be able to do it. Hopefully you have the money to be able to buy. If you still have work or you just have some savings. But the time is the main thing. If you don't have the time, then buy them for future proofing. I don't know. It's kind of like having the rhinestones as your in-between snacks. If you don't like having more than one work in progress at a time, your whip, having the in-between snacks of a small nature are really kind of cool. So where are we up to? We're up, oh, I can't point at it because it's too far over. But yeah, a little bit through. This is the fence in the, hang on, in this bit? Yeah. this bit here we're kind of up to. So that's the kind of line going up. It's got to a point in the last couple of days where I'm kind of avoiding reading some of the news or staying too long in it. Although, here's an interesting conspiracy theory. Kim Jong-un has gone missing in action after having surgery. And we don't know if he's dead or if the media reports are correct. So that'll be interesting to see what happens out of that one. I did see a report that his sister was potentially as psycho as he is. So, yeah. Very, very strange. And then one news report, I think last week, said the Chinese were out doing maneuvers with the Navy. With the big missile launchers and all that kind of thing, and it's like, oh god, I don't want to know. And if war ever did break out and Tassie was cut off, toilet paper went out of fashion really quickly. I don't know how common sense would work here. I think I'd much prefer to be here than in the States where nearly everyone's got a gun though. Look, that's not to say that there aren't guns here, but there's a lot less in everyone's houses to have the lawlessness, I think, or the dangerous lawlessness. There's still danger, but not quite as crazy. There was footage going around the other day of a man who had been, he was getting yelled at by police to put the knife down. He had a knife, he had tried to rob a chemist or something, and he was being yelled at by police to put the knife down, and one of the police officers have arrived in a car, and the car has actually knocked him to the ground and then knocked the knife out of his hand. Now it turns out this dude had been pepper sprayed 3 times and was unaffected because he had taken so many drugs. Oh, I kept the tick out for some reason. Oh, I didn't need any more. He had taken so many drugs earlier that morning that he was dopey as all hell, and that's why he wasn't reacting to the pepper spray. Yeah. But the footage was all over the internet. We have a Facebook, I very loosely call him a reporter. He's called the Vigilante News. And yeah, he has some questionable articles on some occasions. And then I think he knows what side his bread is buttered on, and he pulls his head in for others. So yeah, sometimes you go there for the news in inverted brackets first to find out what shenanigans are going on. I don't know how he always gets to the places before anyone else. Like, yeah, it's bizarre. And everyone's a subscriber. Like, the intel's coming from a subscriber. Yeah. Anyway. He's quite biased in some things. And we have some interesting armchair critics in the neighbourhood. Some of them can't spell too. Yes, the comments can be just as hilarious sometimes as the actual article. Oh, Got one upside down. Oops. They're coming back up. Haven't tried the super sticky wax. It's too expensive to buy. I'm not a huge fan of the paddy wax to warrant spending all that money on just one block of wax to try it, although the reports seem to be really, really good of how good it is, which is a bit of a shame because I like the paddy wax smell. I just don't think the paddy wax is for me. I could melt it in a candle diffuser. That could work because it's lovely and smelly. It's in my tin just here, but haven't got around to that yet. I am going to go sideways, which could cause me problems in a second. We'll see how I go. Or not. Oh, this is a floss tubey kind of thing. Somebody had done a picture on one of the blackwork groups that I'm a part of, and it showed this particular designer's thing being, I think it was supposed to be a tree. It was kind of abstracty. This solid black tree in front of a quite pretty blackwork background, and I got to thinking, and Claire had released the Plague Doctor blackwork kit kind of pattern. Sylvia is doing the Plague Doctor and is doing a great job with it, but I don't want the Plague Doctor kind of reminding me of the current events, so wasn't overly inclined on doing that, although it is kind of cool. The patterns are amazing, but I got the idea of, what if we get the corona shape of the virus and have that as the solid black and have the blackwork background as, you know, just the background. And I was like, yeah, that could work. Anyway, I've got to come up with a design for that one and see how it goes. So I need to find where I've put my graph paper. I've clearly put it into a very important place because I can't find it, and I need to have a play with the picture and the image and see if I can even do it, how big it might need to be. I don't want to have it too big. A4 would be fine, but that would be kind of cool to have a project that is reminiscent of this time. And I'm really enjoying the blackwork pattern. You know, how it just works up really quickly. I think this is what I'm going to struggle with when it comes to doing the cunning cross stitch again, is because you're doing two crosses rather than back stitch effectively, it's going to take that much longer to work up. The owl seemed to take forever when I did the first owl, but then I was also working on the linen, so jeez, I felt so blind doing that. But then I got onto the 14 count Ada, and that seems to be fine. And I think what I'm working on with the new fabric is a 16 count Ada, so I'm hoping that will be less of an issue. And as I say, the light will be working fairly soon, and I'll be able to just, you know, fly along with that, I hope. I don't know if I'm going to catch up. I guess I should be able to catch up reasonably easily. we'll see how I go. Now I need to get some more of these. 3823. I've got 3865 there. 3823 is this, I think. Not that one. Is it this one? 3823. There we go. Find the end. I will be able to fit 5 of these into this container. Alright, that one. Nope, I'll need that. Get this off from the canvas. One, two, three, four, 5. I'll see if I can get as much into the jar as I can. It's not a real big issue if I don't, so long as it doesn't go too far on the canvas itself. So let me, oops. Oh, did I get? There we go. Check the time, Carmen. Lifting. Ooh, there's a drill. Ooh, there's a couple of them. Yeah, I won't be able to do this for much longer. And I'll leave them empty, I think. I know I'm going to have to go back and fix, but because I'm rubbing up against it, a couple of the drills coming off. So I'll need to be careful with that. But I will need to start rolling it up. I had the same issue with Who You Say I Am, which I'm also doing. So yeah, can't have it dangling over the side unprotected. Maybe if there was a sheet over it or something and I wasn't catching any of the drills with my clothing, that would work. But having it rolled up in a card or even up here like so will mean I'm not brushing against it. So yeah, that's the aim. So this is slightly different from the 3865. This is 3823 if you want to compare the colours, but because it's that subtly different and the way it's been checkerboarded almost and blended, it just works. And there's plenty of blending for these cream colours. It's really, really cool. I would like at some point, I think, to compare maybe a diamond painting with a cross stitch. So the square is 2.5. Oh, what are we looking at? Maths. Oh god. 2.5. More of these popping up. Oops. I'd have to do the maths properly to be able to compare as to what count of canvas that would be, whether that would be a 14. So to be 10 per inch. No, maybe it'd even be a 10, which is quite big, and it's going to look stupid. So on a 14 count, you're going to be looking at it much smaller. So to have a comparison, it'd be like doing an actual comparison with doing a round and a square drill with the same drills for each spot. yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. If I had the right picture, I'd be able to do it. I know I've converted the cross stitch to diamond painting. I have a Heaven and Earth design because it reminds me of Sophie in her dungarees with the blonde hair, and it's A Moment in Time, I think it's called. It's all kinds of cute. And it also reminds me of my older kids too. Simon was my blonde. The others were darker, but he was blonde for a little while and then he went orange. I'm not getting as long a run. I need to get more drills, I think. And because I filled the container, there's heaps. Actually, you know what? Let's go all out. Alright, so fingers, or I put my hand over the spout, shake it to try and get them to scatter a bit so that they can actually lie down. Try and scatter as much as I can and then try tipping. I'm not a pro at this by any means. Some drills seem to line up better than others. But you get enough lying flat to then be able to grab a line to place. There we go. See, that's going down really nicely. These skinny heads I think are the best. The fat heads that you get with the free multis in the kits, I think they're just too fat. They just don't fit in between squares. They might be okay for rounds but not for squares. Or maybe for the first placement and not for the second. I found... what was it? Tweezers, I think, worked for the first placement? No, this one worked for the first placement, this wax head. And then you put the second placement in with the solid head. Things like that. You could be nice and light with your first placement, and then the second placement needed to... Oops, that was a T. Where did T... Second placement needs to be quite firm because you're effectively pushing the squares through the gap, getting that click. Oh, getting windy. I put washing out in the line yesterday. I left it out overnight thinking it would be drying for the second half of today, or the second bit of today would dry it. And it was raining this morning, and I'm thinking, oh god, it seems to be like back to square one. So I don't know how wet it is at the moment. But either way, it's coming in today. Winter, hey? Just cannot get the washing dry. I remember when I lived up on Mount Wellington, and I don't think I put the washing out more than twice a year, because it's always raining up there. Like worse than Ireland, you just seem to be permanently in the trees. And in the cloud that lived on the mountain. But I did like having the deck in the trees. It was far too close. If there's a bushfire up there, it's all toast. But I did like having the deck and the trees, and you could sit out, and you know, there were birds, and you were dry, and it could have been raining and drizzly, and you were still dry, and we had a couch outside on the deck. So it was reasonably comfy. There seems to be quite a common thing actually on decks here. People will put couches and armchairs on the deck, like indoor couches and armchairs on the decks. Whether it's just excess that they have or whatever, I'm not entirely sure. Don't have that luxury here. We have enough seating, but we don't have a big overhang that they could stay dry under. And it gets cold. I think I'm accustomed to Tasmania now. Picked up too many. When I first arrived in Australia, it was so mild here, we hardly wore our coats at all. And then as I grew accustomed, the jacket would go on a bit more. But now it's like a cardigan will suffice to keep me reasonably okay. When I did the large family trip, it was over the winter period in Ireland and America, New York. So I brought my heavy sailing jacket that I had, you know, that was like triple lined, and then I had a fleece under that, and leggings and thermals, and yeah, layered up big time, knowing that it was going to be cold, because it gets down to the minuses there, and over here you'd be lucky if it got down to 4 on a cold day by comparison. Yes. And you guys are getting summer over in the northern hemisphere now. A little bit jealous. Our summer seemed to be like a week long here. And now we're getting into the autumny weathers. We've already had snow on the mountain. I think last week we had snow on the mountain. And it's still April. Oh my goodness, I just keep flipping them. Okay. A little bit more blue tack. And let's crack this last lot home. Now, what have I got coming up in the next week? I have the Who You Say I Am series, Letters to a Lady series on the Monday. On Tuesday, I think I've got a DAC unboxing of Best Buds, which is the bear and the sparrow, or blue tit, or great tit, or whatever it is, by, I think it's Katarina. On Wednesday, it's this, and on Thursday, it's, I can't remember what I've got planned for Thursday. Friday, you've got Frivolous Facts, and I'm not quite sure what facts I'm going to hedge towards this time round. Last time I did Tasmanian facts, and before then I did some animal facts. I'll have some thinking time on that one, and I'll get that done. And then I think I've got a video going up on the Saturday, which I think was supposed to be a floss tube, and I scheduled it wrong. Oops. Oh, I've got some flip throughs coming up. You may recall me getting Kiwi Girls and Whimsy Girls at work. I've got the flip throughs for those, and I've got the flip through for an Australian flowering, colouring, oh, what is it? Australian Flowering Plants, I think is the book. Botanical Flowers, or Botanical Breakdown. So you've got that, completely different from each other. So one's got a plate that you can copy the colouring from, and the Kiwi Girls and the Whimsy Girls at work are different work places. Actually, it was quite interesting going through the two at the same time, because the Kiwi Girls had a lot of workplace girls too as the handling. Very coincidentally, I didn't kind of pre-plan that whatsoever, but there was, you know, a chef, or there was, you know, a different kind of working environment. So that was all kinds of cool, having the mirroring. So yeah, you might enjoy that coming up. Monday, as usual, will be the Who You Say I Am, as I'm working on that one. And yeah, there's my current progress. A little bit more of the headland. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy the video series that I'm doing. I hope you're enjoying seeing some of the progress on this. There are quite a few of these lifting, and you can just feel the lift. Anyway, it gets rolled on the outside, so maybe that helps bed them in. I don't know. As I say, I've lost... I'll replace them now. A tick, a T, and an X. If I don't replace them now, I'm just going to get past it. This was the X, it's down here. A tick. And a T. I know they're on the ground, or they're put into the trash or something right next to me. They were all here when I opened it. But Sophie has been back and forth, so yeah. Anyway, so there you go. As easy as that, in theory. Make sure the lid's on that properly. Alright. Let's close that up. So, oh look, I hope you've enjoyed my weird rambling and nonsensical chatter today. It's been a little bit all over the place. I did have a tag that I may have needed to fall back on, which I didn't, but on this time, so yep. You just got the weird rambling instead. Alright, so there's my kit. Put them all back down and shove it up, and I never remember which colour these things are. As I said, I really should get around to actually labelling the outside so I can just read the label. Alright. Take care of yourselves. I will see you around on the tubes, and yes, click like, subscribe, and yes, I'll see you soon. Bye for now.